And welcome back to the week of Who Would Win! And another Who Would Win comes and goes with the request from Underfell Sans, who asked the question, who will win in the three-way fight between pretty much three of the most unkillable sons of bitches you could bring up. The Incredible Hulk, SCP-682, and Doomsday. Literally three of the most unkillable mother effers you could have in any series. I mean, look, we know Hulk. Technically speaking, if you've been on this channel at all for any period of time, or if you're in this type of community, you know exactly how unkillable these guys are. Doomsday was literally created to survive and evolve and be immune to death, pretty much. Strong enough to literally near kill Superman, as it turns out. I didn't actually kill him, but nearly kill Superman. Even if he is killed, he will come back stronger and immune to that which killed him prior. The only way they ended up killing him, apparently, last I checked, was sending him to the end of time itself. I've also argued that if you can rewrite his DNA, you basically rewrite the evolutionary genetic component that allows him to evolve past the thing that killed him prior. He's strong enough to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Superman. Negged Darkseid's Omega Beam, for God's sake, punched through the Phantom Zone. And is all around just an near unstoppable monster in so many ways. You need serious levels of power between like reality warping, which he even has evolved past. You need basically existence erasure, more or less. Not even just disintegration, but existence erasure to get rid of him. But then you have the Incredible Hulk, particularly if you go into Immortal Hulk, who, again, the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. His regeneration is to the point where he can literally just regenerate anything that's destroyed. He's regenerated from a puddle of goo. It's due to the fact that his energy, gamma energy, is connected apparently to hell, and it continually resurrects him. He's strong enough to literally clap universes many times over. He has literally broken reality. He is fast enough to contend with light speeders. He can survive in outer space. He can crack planets just by becoming a world breaker. He is the Incredible Hulk. I would also argue that he's the most intelligent of the three here. Depending on the variation of the Hulk you get, his intelligence is actually fairly high, and therefore he's a fairly competent fighter. So he actually had to go so far as to say he's the best fighter among the three. And then SCP-682, the Unkillable Reptile, is, as it's stated, the Unkillable Reptile. Now, he is technically the largest of them, but he's not like super gigantic. I think he's like around 12 meters or something like that. Let me get SCP-682 up here real quick. In terms of his size. Now, his size does vary due to the fact that he can actually ingest matter and grow in size. But the big thing that a lot of people point out for this fight, for these type of matchups involving a 682, is the fact that just like Doomsday, he is nigh impossible to kill. Let's see here now. Description. Okay. What is his size dimensions? It's a large, vaguely reptile of unknown origin. Engaged conversation with SCP-079. They don't give a real size. I think this is because it has been observed to extremely high speed, reflexes, blah, blah, blah. Its physical body grows and changes very quickly, growing or decreasing in size as it consumes or sheds matter. It gains energy from anything it ingests, organic or inorganic. Digestion seems to be aided by a set of filtering gills inside of its nostrils, which are able to remove unusable matter from any liquid or solution, enabling it to constantly regenerate from the acid it is contained in. Its regenerative capabilities and resilience are staggering, and it was able to be seen moving and speaking with 87% of its body destroyed or rotted. Keep in mind, if you're talking about an animal, let's say 20 feet long is his average size. Let's say that. Based on how we've seen him depicted, he's probably coming in at least 2 tons. So 80% of his body weight gone at 2 tons. That means that there was barely 500 pounds of flesh left, which means most likely all that was left was his head and his neck, pretty much. So yeah, in case containment breach, blah, blah, blah. But again, the point being is that whatever they use to damage him, if it doesn't succeed, he becomes extremely resistant, if not immune to it. This is seen due to the acid. The acid seems to be one of the few things that can kind of like contain him long term. But when they used, what was it, the tickle monster, it did work temporarily, but then he developed like a tickle sonic boom or whatever. With things like explosive or whatever, he's become resilient to those. With things, there's an SCP. Which one was it? There should be a list. Okay, experiment log, termination log. Here we go. So all the attempts, I believe, all the attempts of trying to kill him, and there are a lot of them. Like the official oh Christ, there are a lot of these. I'm not going to be able to go over all of these, or if I do, I'm going to, let's see here. What time do we got here? We're at the 5-minute mark. For the next 5 minutes alone, let's talk about some of the attempts they did to try to kill him. Okay, test log. Cross SCP termination, testing for SCP. Major concerns raised the possibility of developing immunities due to the failure of SCP-409. Anyway, okay. Item, SCP-117. Simply swallow by, okay, so SCP-17 is a humanoid figure approximately 80 centimeters in height, anatomically similar to a small child, with no discernible identifying features, seemingly composed of a shadowy, smoke-like shroud. No attempt to find any object beneath the shroud has been successful, but the possibility has not been ruled out. The shadow cast upon it is immediate and swift. It leaps into the object, casting the shadow, and completely encloses it in the shroud, whereupon it returns to its normal side. Essentially, this little thing hits a shadow, swallows it whole, and then it's gone. Apparently, what happened here was is that 682 was exposed to this SCP-17. Several issues, several sounds of extremely high volume, damaging several recording devices. Sound extends across several wavelengths, reported as the most god-awful roar by its staff. 017 appears to stumble, then returns to a far corner of the containment area. The 682 attempted to break out of its containment, and it failed. It failed. It just failed. This thing could not consume it. 063 is an SCP that's described as being an average pale toothbrush. Stencil along the side of the object are the world's best toothbrush. The world's best toothbrush. No, not toothbrush, but toothbrush. It's spelled incorrectly. Basically, it cleaves through any and all dead or inorganic matter. However, the matter touched by the bristle is not separated such by way of knife, but completely expunged from existence. It's existence erasure, basically, toothbrush. Now, when this was refitted to the end of a rotary arm and deployed on 682's enclosure, initially the approach seemed partially successful. 682 losing more and more than 20% of its body before regeneration took the destruction process. Newly grown tissue was not vulnerable to the eradicating effects. 682 destroys the deployment arm, and 63 digs a hole through the enclosure's ground, whereas it was later recovered. Basically, it worked only temporarily, so he can even ignore existence erasure so long as his regeneration can keep up. All right, let's move on to another one. Which one of these? There's a big one that I always reference. There was also 053, which can do a small 3-year-old ghost capable of basic speech, appears to be slightly above average, generally pleasant personality, rarely seems upset because agitated only in the presence of groups of people. Any all humans over the age of 3 who make eye contact with, physically touch, or remain around her for longer than 10 minutes will rapidly become irrational, paranoid, and homicidal. Okay, so I'm guessing this didn't work very well. Resting its head on. So what happened was she was introduced. Appears to be very confused. The 682 appeared very confused and shows no sign of being affected by 53. 53 appeared to be afraid of 682 and hides behind a chair in their containment area. 682 lowers itself to the ground, resting its head on the floor. And then 53 approached 682, and after several seconds of hesitation, briefly touches 682, but rapidly returning to her hiding spot. 682 does not react in any way. She then pats his head, causing it to exhale through its nostrils. She claps and hops around in places several times before embracing the head of 682. For the remainder of the testing period, 682 appears to be very docile in state, with only 2 low-level escape attempts being made. 53 observed to bring toys and other items, and make several drawings in forward capacity. Basically, this didn't really do much. And she seemed to actually pacify him. Okay, cool. Now let's see. There are two big specific things here, though. Let's see. Was it the serious? I mean, nope, not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Let's see here. Not that one. Not that one. Was it that one? Yes, I think this is the one. So 662 is basically a chair, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's a small silver handle. This is not the one I'm thinking of. The bell, maybe I'm wrong here, but the bell is missing its ringer. Within inside the bell is an inscription, "Mine forever." Most reasonable across. Basically, you ring it, and a being called Mr. Deeds comes in. There are limits to what he can do, and he basically will try to do a request to meet satisfaction. However, there are limits to what he can do. He's unable to produce very complex items such as sports cars or whatever. And he can't kill SCP-662. So basically, what happened was Mr. Deeds is summoned and asked if he could destroy 682 permanently. He responds, "Sorry, sir, I'm afraid I can't do that." He's asking if he can kill SCP-682. "Again, sir, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm afraid I can't do that." He asks if he's incapable of it. As a matter of fact, sir, depending on how sir means the word incapacitate, and depending on how long sir wishes, the creature can be incapacitated, yes. But now he can't kill it. And then what is is this the one where they, nope, wasn't that one. I'm just going through a couple, like I said, there's a lot of attempts to kill this thing. So without going farther into it, there are two specific examples that I really go towards when I talk about SCP-682. There is one where it's a book where you write it and it happens. You can even suck individuals into the book and the story writes itself. And so basically, they wrote on the book saying the thing that killed SCP-682, the unkillable reptile, whatever. He got sucked in the book. A little while later, he got thrown out of the book, beaten to hell, and bloody but alive. And the book retitled itself, the thing that tried to and failed to kill is SCP-682. So even like reality warping is not capable of really killing SCP-682. However, it is not impossible to do it. There is one other SCP we need to talk about, and I can't remember its designation, but it's, I believe, a chair. And what you do is you sit in the chair, and when you sit in this like council of ethereal beings are there. And what you do with these beings is you can make a deal with them to have basically, they're almost like genies, but it's a monkey's paw kind of scenario where you have to make your request, but you have to offer something of equal compensation to do so. So if you want something major to happen, you might have to actually give up your life to do so. Well, they asked, what would it take for us to permanently and forever eradicate SCP-682? And they hesitated and go, you don't got enough collateral for that. Now that says two things. One, it'd take a lot for them to be able to do it, but in theory, they could do it. But two, that actually does mean SCP-682 can be killed. But the amount of effort, power, magic, whatever you want to call, to do it would be so intense that humanity in that universe doesn't have the capability of doing it. There might be an SCP that can do it. If there's an SCP that can theoretically negate other SCP abilities, that combined with other stuff might be the way to go, but I don't know if there's an SCP that does that. Theoretically, the SCPs have been around so long, I wouldn't be surprised. Anywho, now that we spent God knows how long doing that, who would win in this fight? Well, believe it or not, I actually think SCP is the first one to lose in the fight, because while he is near impossible to kill, he is not impossible to incapacitate and stop. Stopping and killing are obviously two very different things. And despite how powerful he is, SCP, unless he starts getting really big, his strength is not on the level of anything like a Hulk or a Doomsday. He's powerful, certainly, by his world standards, and dangerous, and hard to beat, but let's not mince words. It's not like he can't be stopped. He's been stopped by normal people many times before. He's been blown up many times before. His body has been burned, blown up, melted, rotted. You name it, it's kind of happened to him. But he can be injured more easily than either Hulk or Doomsday can. And his physical strength, even at his peak, doesn't actually really come close to either of these guys. So while he would be annoying because he probably would keep getting back up for a while, Hulk and Doomsday might just ignore each other for a moment and just kind of like boom. Doomsday might put it literally like one of his bone spikes through his head and just boom, 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 and let just stick him to the ground. And then Hulk might just clap him and blow him to bits. Now, he might eventually come back from that, but even he would be like, I don't want to screw with these guys anymore. I'm done. So that would just leave Hulk and Doomsday. Now, if you've seen Death Battle, then you saw that they believed Doomsday would win the fight because he would eventually overtax Hulk's regenerative capabilities. Now, granted, that was early season Death Battle Hulk. Then when they brought Hulk back in against Broly, they determined that Hulk was a lot stronger than the Hulk they used. So if we're using that level of Hulk, who again can clap universes, break through dimensions, lift mountains, break worlds just by the stomp, is Doomsday stronger than that? Well, we've never seen him clap a universe, but he's kind of on par. He's cracked through a universe before, or at least in our dimension. Not quite the same concept, but very similar. I'd argue that his bone spikes might be difficult for Hulk to manage with a little bit, but as long as Hulk pulls them out, I don't see him having a real issue with that. Also, I do argue a little bit with the whole idea that and I bring Death Battle up because they're the most prominent versus channel out there, but also the fact that I think a lot of the times they get it right. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes I personally don't think they get it right, but a lot of people think they don't do it right. So whatever. They're still very entertaining. People who like them watch them. People who complain about them watch them. But the whole idea that he evolved past the point of being killed by blunt force trauma, I argue against that just a little bit. I don't think it's the fact that he evolved past getting killed by blunt force trauma like punches. I think it's just the level of strength required to still kill him that way was even beyond Superman, because it was Superman of all people who did it. If it had been a lower level person, which super strength that kind of like killed him with blunt force, I imagine that Superman comes in with a harder level of it and then manages to kill him. So the question is Hulk strong enough to do that? Is Hulk, I guess, stronger than Superman physically? And as the fight will go on, Hulk would get stronger. Ultimately, yeah, I do think Hulk does surpass Superman. I think is just way not only overhyped a little bit. I've never been a big Superman fan. I've been open about that. But also the fact that Superman, first off, technically he's limitless, but does have limits. It's just this constant absorption of solar radiation. But he does have just base form limits. He has to get a big enhancement with solar radiation to surpass those limits. But beyond that, he's not. If Superman could be anyone, the few stories that are interesting wouldn't be interesting. But the fact is, he can't beat everyone. Like Darkseid can regularly smack him around. Doomsday is another one. There are beings physically stronger than Superman. I think Hulk eventually would outpace Superman again because he can kind of blow up a universe just by punching and clashing with someone several times over. So Superman actually doesn't normally show that level of strength. Base form Superman, let's be very clear. Base form Superman does that, or like Superman going all out, does not show that level of strength. Enhance him to his higher forms with solar radiation and all that, enhancement, sure. But that's the thing. People always use those as Superman can do this and that. Yeah, when he's been dipped in the sun for 15 minutes, or when he's got a super form enhancement or something like that. If you're just talking about Superman as it is, he's not as powerful as a lot of these versus people want to make him out to be. Bring Death Battle up again real quick. That pissed me off with Goku versus Superman 2. That really did, because they really were just saying Superman can do this, so yeah, he'll win any fight. That's not how that works. Anywho, so because of that, I do think Hulk does get to a point where, yes, he could overwhelm Doomsday to the point of killing him again. Now, granted, he would do it, but Doomsday would eventually, I think, come back and then overwhelm Hulk. So it would be an initial defeat for Hulk, but Doomsday eventually would overcome that death because Hulk can't just erase him or out of existence or anything like that. Unless he tears off Doomsday's head or something, then and then like toss him into space or whatever, then there's not much for Doomsday to really, there's not much to stop Doomsday from coming back eventually. So while it would be an initial defeat for Hulk, Doomsday eventually would come back from it and stronger for it. So long term, I think Doomsday wins the fight. But if we're talking about the initial confrontation between the three, I think Hulk would be the eventual winner of that, with Doomsday being the long-term winner. Again, unless the fight ends up going into space, in which case Hulk eventually figures out a way to just rip Doomsday in half and maybe throws him into a sun or whatever. Although because he is technically Kryptonian to a degree, that might not work. That might not be a good idea. So, anyway, maybe he rips him in half or takes his head off and the pieces just go floating in space. So, ultimately, I'll say Hulk for the initial three-way fight, Doomsday unless he throws him into space for the long-term fight. This is just my opinion, though. What do you think of the comments below? Let me know what you think. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And I'll see you folks next time. Have a good one.